And you research molecular mechanisms that negatively regulate inflammation and ensure that the amplitude and the period of inflammation is just right. Can you help us understand the Goldilocks principle in inflammation?
So what I will do is, inflammation um, is is absolutely essential for the body's defense mechanism. Yet, and what we do understand very well now is how inflammation is switched on. So, for example, when your body encounters pathogens, foreign patterns that doesn't exist within ourselves, or damage that happens to us, there are mechanisms within our cells, specialized cells of the immune system, that recognizes there's something aberrant. And the first immediate response is through inflammation. It's create an environment that's hostile, that hopefully can control infection if it's there. Um, but it's also non-specific, right? So it doesn't identify, unlike your adaptive immune system. Like, for example, after you get vaccinated for COVID, you will have antibodies specifically against COVID, right? And they will only seek out and destroy that virus. But inflammation, um, it's not so specifically directed. So there's collateral damage from it. So if inflammation persists for too long, is exaggerated, your own body starts suffering. And this has been known, you know, since time immemorial, perhaps. Like, so in our Ayurveda, for example, the Charaka Samhita or um, Shushruta Samhita, you would find references to stota, I believe, which was the term for inflammation. And they even treated inflammation as a disease, not just a symptom of disease. Of course, you know, our education is more westernized, so I can probably tell you a little bit more confidently about Celsius and the Greeks and rubor, though, like the symptoms of inflammation, the definition of inflammation, that you have swelling, redness, pain, and then, Virchow later added this loss of function aspect. And, all of us have experienced it when you get cut, you have swelling, pain, redness, so on and so forth. But but if it imagine if it persists, then it becomes a disease in itself. And now we realize that there are many diseases that we didn't think so much in the context of inflammation. For example, neurodegeneration. For example, cancer. We are realizing that there is an aspect of inflammation that's involved in this. And it cuts both ways. Inflammation can help direct your, engage your immune system to attack the disease causing agents or even cancer cells. Like, for example, in immunotherapy, it works better if there is some degree of inflammation. Um, but again, if its amplitude and period is not controlled, it's going to hurt yourself, right? So what are the keys? What are the secrets? And there are negative feedback. So imagine a car. Actually, this exists in trains, for example, right? As if a train exceeds a certain speed, automatically certain braking mechanisms are engaged. I'm talking about modern trains, in the West, or more developed technology. So there is an automatic sort of speed regulatory system, right? So it's not on from the beginning. It's only there to check and balance and regulate the speed at which the train moves. And it's something similar for inflammation. There are certain mechanisms that are, trying to keep things somewhat constrained. And if we understand how to manipulate this, we can not only intervene when these things go wrong in neurodegenerative disease, for example, or autoimmune disease, or chronic inflammatory diseases. We can try to engage these negative regulators and try to dampen inflammation, of course, transiently. in other cases like cancer, if you understand these breaks and you take them off for a little bit at least, let inflammation, exceed its sort of set point, and then perhaps we can generate an inflammatory response against even a cancer cell. So that's this idea. So it's very context dependent. We have to understand the mechanisms and sort of toggle it. It's not um, a 0-1 type of system. You can imagine there are different grades between this, and we can precisely, if we know how to precisely toggle it, then I think we can really make a dent in a variety of diseases.